The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning and welcome to our 2013 report on the state of online newsrooms and social media in the Inc. 500 companies. The report was done by PRESSfeed, the social online newsroom, and we've spent a couple of months really digging into the state of news as it's being used and presented in the Inc. 500 companies. So I'm going to go through the report. You guys are getting a little bit of a sneak peek today. And just before I start, Laura had her hand raised. Laura, if you had a question, would you just type it into the chat box at the bottom? I tried to unmute you, but I couldn't get that done. I see that your hand is no longer raised, but if you have a question, Laura Burns, please just type it in the little chat box and I'll see if I can answer the question. So let's get going. Just by way of an introduction, I'm sure that you're all aware of what's been happening over the last couple of years in the media. That more people are getting their news online and from mobile devices now than they get from radio or from newspapers. TV seems to be fairly stable at about 55% of the people are watching their news on TV. But the online is creeping up, creeping up. Look at the one on the right-hand side. It's getting online for news 3 days a week up to 46. It's going to be not far to go to that 55. And more people are also getting their news on Facebook and other social networks, mobile devices, Twitter. Twitter is making a huge play to be more a part of the media. I've written some blog posts on that on compro.biz and on my proactive report. So you can go and look those up if you're interested as to what Twitter's up to with the journalists and the media, but they really want to be more a part of the media. So as PR people, how you get your news out to your various stakeholders is becoming quite fragmented, and there are a lot of places where you've got to put all your news. It has to be seen in many different places. And then the one way to sort of collate it all, curate all your content, is to have an excellent newsroom, because you must have access to this content in one place. It's fine that you need to have it everywhere, but you also need to have one place where investors, possible investors, customers, potential customers, the general public, and of course the media and bloggers who may be interested in your company might be looking for an expert, might be looking for a story, might be researching something. You've got to make sure that this is all available in one place, because they are under such tremendous pressure today that they are absolutely not going to be able to go looking all over the social web for what you have to offer. Let's just get this thing to move. There we go. So this idea of PR content is expanding rapidly. We hear a lot about content marketing. Well, content has been part of PR forever, but our PR content and the distribution of our PR content just has to be on so many different places now. And there's just some of them. That's not even all of them, but that's some of the major ones. So how did we go about this? We took the companies, the 500 companies that were on the 2012 Inc. 500 list, and we evaluated their newsrooms looking at these 15 factors. First of all, do they have a newsroom? And then out of those that have a newsroom, it's how easy is it to find that newsroom? Is the information in the newsroom current, or have they not bothered to update it for however long? Because of course if the media does come to the site, they're going to want to see the latest news. That's what this is all about. They don't want to see very outdated information. Their biggest complaint, still, it was the biggest complaint 20 years ago when I started teaching PR at university level. It's still one of the biggest complaints. They need a contact person on the main page of the online newsroom. And there has to be a contact name and telephone number on the press releases. And the reason for having to have it in both places is fairly logical. When they come to your website and they're looking for something, they want to be able to find the newsroom quickly. Then they want to see, is there somebody they can contact? But press releases as an individual item are being found and distributed all over the web. So a blogger or a journalist may come across one of your press releases in some place, a little solitary, all by itself press release. And if your only place where you have your contact is on the homepage of your newsroom, they may not go there. So it has to be on every single press release. Is there a search function so that they can search the newsroom content? Is there other content in the newsroom besides just your news releases? Because as we've just said, you need to have so much more. Is there a blog? Is there an event calendar, exec bios, places to find experts as sources for quotes, images, videos, infographics? All that kind of material should be in your newsroom. Is the news content organized and categorized? Is it available in a news feed so that they can subscribe? Then every time you put something new in your newsroom, they'll automatically get pinged. Are you connecting to your social content so that when a blogger or journalist or potential investor comes along and has a look at your newsroom and they want to know, well, who are these people? What are their execs like? How do they look on camera? Have they ever done any videos? If you don't have all that material there, believe me, they're not going to go searching to see if you have a YouTube channel or a Facebook page. You need to spoon feed them. And then, are you helping people to share your content? So you need one set of icons that connect to your social content. Those are your owned properties, your Twitter feed, your Facebook. But you also need to have icons that help your visitors to share your content and your news on their social profiles. Is there an image gallery? Is there a video gallery? Are you using images, graphics, and video with all your news releases and your blog posts? And one of the most important, do you offer embed codes for the images and the videos? Now, an embed code is a little tiny piece of code that helps the person, the blogger, the journalist, take your visuals, copy and paste, one click, and it can be visual on their site. So those are the 15 that we were looking for. And then we also established, excuse me, besides just press releases, what other methods of distribution are these Inc. 500 companies using to get their brand stories told? So do they have a blog? Do they have a Facebook page? And how good is that Facebook page? Or is it just like, oh yeah, we checked that one off. We have a Facebook page, slapped it up there, haven't done a thing since 2011. Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn, YouTube, and just out of interest for the visuals, we also looked at Pinterest. This is a quote from Deirdre Breckenridge, very well-known author of the 8 New Practices for the PR Professional. Just making comment about how important it is for both private and public companies to be using social media for news distribution, and that the website needs to have a new look. The newsroom has to be the prominent place where all the business material is housed today. And that newsroom has to reflect how the company uses its social media to disseminate critical information to the public. You've got to be proactive. You need to make sure that your newsroom is state-of-the-art, constantly updated. People can find it. because that's what your stakeholders are demanding. So first of the 15 parameters, how many of them have a newsroom and how many do not? It's 64 to 36. So almost 2/3 have a newsroom, but 1/3 don't have anything, nothing. No newsroom, no news page, not even one press release, nothing. So one would think that with the fastest growing companies, they would realize how important it is to have media coverage and would want to supply this kind of information, not only to the media, but also for other stakeholders like investors and the public, because it's really, really important to have all this information available. So that was the first thing. And then we looked at their scorecard. Only 2% of these 500 had an excellent newsroom. That's not a really good number. Another 6% did okay, they were good. 35% were average, but more than 50% really didn't do too well at all. Most of them are really Web 1.0, just a page, a list of links, text links to press releases, and a lot of them, those press releases are still in PDFs. So that really doesn't cut the mustard today. So this is some comments from Joe Polizzi. He's the founder of the Content Marketing Institute, and they, for the first year, were on the Inc. 500 list this year. And he was just commenting that we know that there's been a lot of downsizing in the traditional media newsrooms. They're down by 1/3 since the year 2000. It's the lowest they've been since the 70s. So they've all said that they are looking for help. They're looking outside the newsroom. They need other content providers. So it's definitely within the grasp of any Inc. 500 company to make news today. However, as he comments here, the Inc. 500 have probably never really been told that they have to think and act like publishers, but they do. So just looking at how many have the various criteria that we were looking at, and looking at from last year to this year, the part that was most disturbing was on the left, that even though there has been such an explosion in visual content in the last year, and Forbes magazine referred to it as the breakout trend of 2012, and they only expect it to get even more so in 2013 and beyond, and we've already seen that in the first 6 months. In these Inc. 500 companies, practically nothing occurred. Like, they never saw that trend. It didn't come on their radar at all. The image galleries, a little bit, went from 12 to 14%. The video galleries went from 8 to 11%. And those offering embed codes didn't go anywhere. 2% last year, 2% this year. And I guess it wouldn't be a big leap to make that those 2% are the same 2% that got the A+, because they were the only ones who had absolutely everything. The exec bios, definitely there are more. The big plus point that we saw was this huge leap in connecting to the brand's social content, which is a really good thing. Last year it was only 12%, this year it's 72%. And the social sharing went up to 39%, so that was really great. So there is definitely a movement within the Inc. 500 in seeing or adapting and adopting the social content and the realization of how important it is for people to share. The big problem is that they're not embracing the visual web. The comment from Rebecca Lieb, she's the media and content analyst at the Altimeter Group. It's stunning how few of the companies on the Inc. 500 list have a good newsroom. And she's done some really good research, and I would recommend to all of you to look at the Altimeter Group research. These guys are excellent researchers. Many of them come from Forrester Research and other big research companies originally. They are very high-profile people, all authors, really good researchers, and they don't charge for their research. It's all open source research. Do a search for Rebecca's recent report on content. So she was just saying it flies in the face of all the research that she's done on how journalists and bloggers and influencers seek information. So the biggest positive change, as I say, was the fact that these companies are now connecting to their social content. So there you see it, 12 to 72. And the social sharing from 12 to 39. The one thing about that, although it is positive, is that sharing news content has been identified as one of the major trends that will influence the news industry in the next decade. And yet almost 2/3 of these Inc. 500 companies are still missing this vital component. So it's great that they've gone from 12 to 39, but that 60% that aren't on board need to get the memo that it's really, really important. If you look at this one from Chris Abram, he's one of the top 50 social media power influencers named by Forbes magazine. He said that once they added sharing buttons to their newsroom, their earned media mentions quadrupled. So that makes a big difference. So as we pointed out in the key findings, the visual content is the biggest area of concern. And there's been almost no change whatsoever. The Inc. 500 companies, most of them are not offering images, not offering videos, no graphics, no image gallery, no video gallery. They're not using images and graphics and videos with their press releases and their blog posts. So you're just missing out on a huge trend, and there's so many studies that are showing how much difference the visuals make. PR Newswire, for instance, has done a study on thousands and thousands of press releases that show that if you add an image and a video and a graphic and a download, as much extra material as you can with a text press release, you can get almost 10 times as many views on that press release. We know that you get more pickup. We know that you get more engagement. The media also knows this. They know that they get more views when there are visuals with the story. Almost every editor that I've spoken to in the last 3 or 4 months doing this research, they've said to me that it is policy. A story doesn't go up on a website unless it has some kind of visual, because they see from the analytics how that increases views and engagement. Facebook just redesigned their timeline because they did it more around pictures and visuals, because they're seeing from their analytics that the visuals are driving the engagement and the comments. Same with Google+. It's also much more visual now. And again from Rebecca, just saying it's amazing that they're not using these multimedia tools. There's a clear trend away from written information in favor of images and video. So you need digital newsrooms and multimedia information. We know that the biggest reason why companies don't do this is because they have a lack of resources or a lack of skill. But I think that people have a mistaken idea that it's really, really difficult. And it isn't that difficult, really. It can be, you can learn to do this fairly easily. So it's just something that you should take into account, that because this is so important, you might want to make sure that you can find someone who's interested in doing this in the company and get them trained to do it. Oh, let's get this moving again. Oh, we're going the wrong way. There we go. All right. So from 2012 to 2013, embed codes didn't change. The use of multimedia with their press releases and blogs has improved, but still not enough. Video gallery on the site and images, they have improved, but the numbers are so low in terms of percentages. I mean, we're not even up to a quarter. So it looks like a good graph when you don't look at the bottom and you don't see the percentages, but the minute you see how few we're talking about, it's really a big gap. It's really important that your news must be found easily. So that was one of the parameters that we were looking for. Does your news show up when somebody does a search for your brand or your company name? Does it show up also on some key phrases that a journalist or blogger or potential investor or customer might be looking for? At the very, very least, there should be a link to the news content on the homepage of the website. So here are some examples. This is one of the Inc. 500, Lean Dog. And when you search Lean Dog, this is what you see in Google. So they've done their website so that you see all the different possibilities that you can go to, sections of the website, and news is one of them right at the top. So if a journalist searches Lean Dog, they're going to go, ah, there's the news. Boom, they can click it right away. And another one, Independent Catalyst, same thing. These guys, they don't show up on the search, but when you come to their site, it's right there. They have it at the top. There's a news tab in the navigation at the top, but it's also right on the page. Nice thing they have too, they have their RSS feed right there. So the journalist would know that there's the news, and if I want to subscribe, there is a feed. Now, Riva Lozanski used to be the editor of Entrepreneur Magazine. She's now the president of GrowBiz Media. And her comment was that a good newsroom makes it easier for journalists to find you. And if they can't find you, that might just be the difference between whether they write about you or not. Because they're not going to go searching. If they can't find your news, they're going to move on. And Lisa Beyer, she writes for Search Engine Watch, and she writes about newsrooms. It's one of the subjects of beats that she covers. So these were her comments. Journalists and consumers expect it, and Google rewards for it. So an online newsroom that is social, visual, and mobile friendly will win the war. So it was good that 70% of those with newsrooms have current information available on the newsroom. But still, the fact that 31% are completely out of date is concerning. You have a newsroom, this number should be 100%, because everybody with a newsroom should at least keep it up to date. So then going into what other areas besides press releases and the wire, how else are these companies getting their news and their content out there? 89% of all these Inc. 500 companies have a Facebook. And when I got that piece of data, I was like, oh, that's great. They've really increased. They're embracing it. Look at this. Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook, they're right up there, around about the 80%. Facebook, almost 90%. Terrific. Until I really started digging in and seeing what are they doing with these things? Or is this just oh, we checked it off, we have a Facebook page. And then same like the newsroom. Yes, we put up a newsroom and now we don't put anything in it. Now we have a Facebook page and we don't put anything in there either. So it was very interesting to me that just under half of those with the Facebook page are actually effectively using it, posting regularly, building their likes, using it to build up and grow a community of loyal followers so that they can use it to distribute their news and their content. Good to see that the blog has grown slightly. It's still only just 42%. And a blog is one of the best ways to distribute brand stories. So I would like to see more of these Inc. 500 companies blogging. I was interested to see that 41% are using Google+, because there's so much conversation and comment online about Google+ being useless and nobody uses it and it's only people who work at Google and it's just a wasteland. That is actually not true. Just this last month, in terms of active users, it became the #2 network behind Facebook. It's right on par with Twitter right now. It would make sense, seeing that so few people have videos on their site, that I'm surprised, in fact, that 41% are actually using YouTube. They're not putting all those videos on their site, because when I go to look at how many of them have videos and video galleries on their site, the number is down to 11%. And Pinterest is one place where we see people using images, and it's a fair amount, 31% for something new like Pinterest. I thought that was okay. So this is the effect of Facebook. As I said, although almost 90% of them have a Facebook, less than half are doing it effectively. So who got the A+? Those little measly 2%. Here's one that we felt was really, really good, is the ING Newsroom. You'll see they have a link to the Newsroom on their main navigation. When you go to the Newsroom, there's press releases, there's latest media highlights, there's a bunch of other content. Company overview, management bios, FAQs, a place to find experts. You can look for subject matter experts, all media contacts. Then they've got media kits with a whole bunch of other stuff on it. And there's the social connection and the RSS feed at the bottom on the right. And there you can see, when you look at the Newsroom, you can see right at the top all the different things. Right away you can look at all that, press releases, media contacts, so on. And then when you go to multimedia, they have videos, bunches of them. Look, there's pages of them. It's not only those three. And then you have all the images, and on the right, lo and behold, they have the embed codes for you to be able to share it. And they have one for high resolution and one for low resolution. Very smart. There you can see it in a bigger. So you get the picture, you get the little description, and then you have how to share it, high res, low res, and they have different. A little piece of code is different for each different image. But that is very, very smart. Journalists and bloggers have all said, those that we surveyed, having images and video available, ready to use, is a huge plus point. Because of the fact that their editors have made this policy that no story can be published without visuals, the journalist now has to make sure that they have visuals when they submit a story. So if they're researching and they find something that can fit into their story and you give them all the visuals that they would need, and you make it so easy for them to take it and use it, that helps them to do their job. So here are a couple of other high scorers. This is Elemental Technologies. You can see they have a link to news and events. They have a place where you can search the newsroom. They have a bunch of added value content. So there's press releases, media coverage, events, there's a newsletter, there's a brand center where you can get the images, and there's a blog. They have contacts, they have a place to get images, and they have all the social connections. Okay? They're kind of one step down. And then when you click on news and events, you see all of this. So it's very easy for the blogger or the journalist when they come here, they go, yeah, I was looking for a logo or a graphic. They can just click there and go and take it straight away. This company is Credit Karma. Excuse me. Again, they had more than just their press releases. They have a contact person, and they have their social connections right there. Not quite as robust, but still they had quite a lot of the things that should be there. They do make it fairly easy. So in terms of video gallery, this was a good one from Edge Homes. They have a lot of really good video on their site and a nice little gallery. Also nicely categorized. And this is an image gallery from Innovative Construction. And they have them categorized, so it's easy to find what you're looking for. And then they also had their blog posts, latest posts on that page, and they've got all their social icons. So that was pretty cool. And they've got the news and blog in their main navigation, so it's easy to find. So just going from here, what does it take to get that A+ for news and PR and have a really good newsroom? This model was suggested by Edelman Digital. They did a blog post last year about this, right at the end of last year, called the Social Creative Newsroom. And their point is that many people should be contributing to your newsroom. Your community managers, those would be the people involved in your social media and your social networks. So those are all the things that are coming from Facebook and Twitter and your blog. Then the people who are doing the editorial and writing your press releases and the news, your brand and content strategy. Then all the creatives who are actually making the visuals, formatting your social stuff, and whoever's doing the measurement, the analytics, all of this should be available in your newsroom. And this is this is David Armano. He's the CEO of Edelman Digital. And he was just saying that it's becoming pretty clear that companies must be the media. They have to publish content. So as we said in the beginning, it's content marketing. Everybody is using the phrase, but it's just PR publishing more than anything else. You've got to tell your own stories. Now that you're able to, take advantage of all this easy publishing and just use all these different vehicles. You need a real-time newsroom approach for brands so that you can be seen and heard in a collectively social, digital, and mobile world. So here are some examples of companies that have adopted this social creative newsroom. This is Super Shuttle, and they have two brands that they have in this newsroom. It's Super Shuttle and ExecuCar. So they have the connection to the social content for both brands. They have feeds on each category. They have easy sharing options, just one click and you can share it onto your social networks. There are links to company info and execs. On the right-hand side, press contacts, the image gallery, the video gallery, all the tags. And then they're also showing their Twitter feed. So this one is Lucy's Cookies. They've done a really good job in totally integrating this newsroom with the design of their website. It's very seamless. You would never know that you were on a hosted newsroom. So you have the links, you have the news feeds, the social sharing, the exec contacts, company info, press contacts, image gallery, video gallery, tags, and the Twitter feed. And then down the center you have the categorized content. The Lucy's News is her press releases. They do gluten-free and food allergy. All their cookies are gluten-free, dairy-free, non-GMO, whatever somebody could be allergic to, hopefully it's not in the cookies. So there are articles and blog posts and media coverage all in there as well. It's a real one-stop shop. So going back to the fact that you need to be found, here's an example of when you search for this company, David Lerner Associates. The first result is their site. The second result is their newsroom. And then this one of the criteria that we looked at was not only searching your brand, but searching for phrases, key phrases that the company would want to be found for. So this Pacific Outdoor Living is an Inc. 500 company. When you search paving stone ideas, the number one result is their newsroom. So we have this best practice checklist. It's pretty long. So for visibility, you should be on page 1, and there should be, for a search, and there should be a link from the home page. Then the content must be current, more than just press releases, organized by category. All the content is tagged. There should be images and visuals and videos and news feeds and a custom search function. Contact name on the main page and on the press release. Journalists like to see a picture of the person, and they really like it if you give the social profile of the person as well. Then with your images, you should have an image gallery. Like you saw in the ING one, you should have high-res, low-res. You should have brand logos, product images, staff and management headshots, community work, social responsibility programs, graphics for financial information, perhaps infographics. The embed codes should be with the images as well as the videos, and short completed videos for use on news sites, not longer than 1:30. Also B-roll footage that the television stations can use. Do product demos. If you are perhaps an IT company or you do something like that, you could do screenshot tutorials, would be great videos. Interviews with customers. Interviews with experts and thought leaders. And then the social media must connect to all your social content, must be able to share. And the sharing widgets, like when you click to share something on Facebook or Twitter, it should bring up a little box that already has the link of the page and says this is the newsroom or this is the article, so that people don't have to type it in. They can change it, they can add to it, they can edit it, but it should be there already for them so that it becomes a one-click sharing. So that's our report for the year, and it will be available for download on Monday. The slide deck and the report is going out on Monday, and we will send you all the link when it is ready. If you have any questions, please just type them into the little chat box, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. Let's see. Hold on one sec, just let me go through. So there was a question to clarify, what does connecting to the brand's social content mean? That means if you have any social content, Facebook page, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram, whatever it is that you have, you should have a link in your newsroom that connects directly to that. So if I come to your site and I want to see your Facebook page, I shouldn't have to go off your site, go to Google, go and do a search, go to Facebook, see if I can find you. It should say something like, connect with us on social media. Then you have a little icon for Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is that you have. And make sure that when they click it, it opens in a new window so that once they've looked at it and they close it, they're still in your newsroom. They haven't closed everything. There's a question about a crisis. And yes, totally, this is for normal, run-of-the-mill, day-to-day operations. If you're in a crisis, you should have one section of the newsroom already set up that's dark, that's not published, and that you would use in terms of crisis. Should a crisis hit, if you're using a system like PRESSfeed, then with one click we can turn everything off and only show the crisis section, where you can then publish what it is, that the information that you need to get out. And I mean, crisis management is a whole subject on its own. The comment there was, these could easily be used for negative stories. Not the newsroom, because there is no way for outside people to post to the newsroom. It's totally an owned content. It's owned media. The blog, if it has comments open, Facebook, yes, all of those can be an avenue for negative stories. Making sure that your team is trained and ready for a crisis and how to handle a crisis should it explode in social media, that's a kind of a different webinar. But the newsroom does work well in that you can immediately just take away a lot of the stuff that's there and have this dark crisis section ready, that the minute something like that happens, you can turn that on, and that's where you feed out the information that you want people to see. There's a question here that says, do I have data that shows the correlation between press room quality and the volume of media coverage? I don't have it on here, and I don't have enough for it to be statistically valid at this point, but I certainly have anecdotal data from all of our clients that have shown that when you have a newsroom like this, it definitely increases your earned media coverage. That is something we still have to collect. And then there's a question about PDFs. I would avoid PDFs like the plague for any news content. A question on videos. What is the best type of video content to get in under the 130 mark? It's not really a question of what will be best to that make it short. What you need to do is to start thinking about telling your story visually. Rather than write your press release and then think, what kind of a video could I make for this? You should turn that around. And you should, before you ever write the press release, you should think, how am I going to tell this story visually? What would be the best possible visual way to show this? Because there is no doubt that visuals create an emotional engagement. It pulls people in. They get the feeling. They experience it much more than when they just read it in a story. I don't know if you guys have seen the Guardian's coverage of the firestorm in Tasmania. If you haven't, do a Google search. Just put in Firestorm Tasmania Guardian Interactive or something like that, and you'll see what comes up. Now, they originally wrote a very traditional news story, just text with one picture. But they were so intrigued by this event that they got a team out there and they went and made this incredible video. It's not 1 minute 30. It's very long. But they did it so amazingly that you just keep watching because it's so interesting. But mostly for the news, they won't take that long a piece. They do want short little pieces. But you need to think a bit like a documentary producer. So instead of having just the talking heads, if you can use the words that they're saying, what they're talking about, and use that as an audio track, and then get pictures or video what it is they were talking about. So you show the thing and not the person saying the thing, because that's really only just one little step up from a text. Because if I read it in text, I'm getting what you think. And then if I have you on video saying what you think, all I'm doing is seeing you saying what you think. But if I can see the actual thing, so let's just take this firestorm. If you reported on it and you wrote there was this terrible firestorm in Tasmania, worst they've ever had, wiped everybody out. There was this one family that it was a grandparents with their grandkids and their doggy, and they ended up under the deck in the lake to escape this thing, and it burnt their whole house down. It's like, okay. And then even if you interviewed those people, they would be a bit more emotional, but they would, if all you saw were the two of them talking and explaining it, you still wouldn't get the impact. But when you have the pictures of that firestorm coming over the hill and the smoke, and you see them with the kids in the water going further and further out, and the little dog stuck on the top of the deck, and you see the fire coming closer, it just, you sit there looking at it and going, oh my God. So it's the same voice over, it was the same interviews, but they're just using the voice over these incredibly impactful images. So all you have to think of is, what can I do in 1 minute 30 that's going to hit these people between the eyeballs? And don't put a long introduction. Go right into the impact of the material as fast as you can. The reason for that is people really get bored. We all have ADHD, I'm sure, by now. The internet has made us, our attention span like a gnat. The other thing is that YouTube counts the number of views as part of your search ranking in Google and YouTube. And they count a view only after a person has watched for 10 seconds. So if you've got a long intro that's just the brand, people are going, oh God, no, what? Just to say what you're seeing on your screen now. It says PRESSfeed, the online social newsroom. And it says that, and it says that, and then it says it's some more, and then it says it's some more, and by now we're 10 seconds, and I haven't seen the video yet, and I'm probably going to click out. Then it doesn't even count as a view. There's a question here, how would I recommend distributing a multimedia release? For me, there is only one wire service. It's hardly known at all at this point. It's called newswire.net. And I'm going to put in this little chat box here. There is a way where you can sign up. Newswire.net / how do I do this? new_member. No, newswirehelp.net _new member. I believe that's what it is. It was built by journalists, and it was not open to the general public to use until about 6 months ago. But their Newswire really understands, the guys who built it really understand what the media wants. They don't charge by the word. You don't pay extra if you're over 400 words. You don't pay extra for images. You don't pay extra for videos. You don't pay extra for graphics. You can do a lot of SEO for the news release on the site. They're very inexpensive. It's $149, I believe, for 5 releases a month. So what's that, like 30 bucks? 30 bucks a release. Fully multimedia. And there's all sorts of things you can add in on the side. You can add in Google Maps if you're a local business. You can put in forms for downloading white papers. It's ridiculous. A question, are URL links to photos and videos sufficient? I've been told by reporters that they want text-only releases. Yes, they certainly don't want attachments sent to them. That's the point of your newsroom. So you can send them a really short little text email saying 5 W's, here's the pitch, here's the link, all data and images available at this link in our newsroom. Then they can go to that link to your newsroom and they can see everything they want at their leisure when they want to, and that's why it needs to be there with all the embed codes and the everything, so that it's all there. And any other research, analyst, backup, whatever it is that you want, you can put it all there, quotes, the whole 9 yards can all be in the release with all the images, all the videos, and it's all there in one little package for them. But you would never send it to them. No, they don't want that at all. And I agree that many reporters are checking their email on their cell phones and they wouldn't want to be able to open it. But if your newsroom is built well, it will display well on a phone or a tablet. A lot of them are using tablets now, and it will display properly. Well, that's the end of all the questions that I have for now. And we're almost at 11 o'clock. So I'm going to say thank you very much for being with us this morning. I hope this has been useful. And if you are interested in finding out how you can upgrade your newsroom, then just go to press-feed.com and request a demo. And I'll be more than happy to show you, do an eval on your individual newsroom for you, and then go through it with you and show you what could be upgraded and how you can have a social creative newsroom up and running, all ready to go in 2 weeks. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in July for our next webinar.